All right, so this is prairie sod rolling out the green carpet. So this is about our trial run with native sod here at Polk County Public Works and how it's going after a year. Also, as a disclaimer, this is the PDF version of this presentation because somehow I lost the PowerPoint version. So we'll be bouncing back and forth a little bit. Okay, so with the background, we had a happy sequence of events start when we were thinking about this native sod project. First of all, about 2 years ago now, I was with my colleague Jennifer Welch at the Soil and Water Conservation District, and we were watching a webinar by a company called MNL. That's short for Minnesota Native Landscapes out of the Twin Cities. And it was talking about prairie sod. And it was something that we had never heard of before. And it kind of blew our minds because it looks like an instant prairie that you can roll out, and it eliminates a lot of the establishment time that is usually done with traditional prairie installation, whether it's cedar plugs, and it looked great. And we just also so happen to be in the works for restoring our public works campus. We wanted to take some of the turf out of our public works facility and convert it to native plants. And so we thought this was a good opportunity to try out some of this native sod. And then right after that, we had a homeowner reach out to us because she has a drainage easement on her property and she was looking for solutions for standing water. And so we thought, well, this is great. This is the county easement and we can put some native sod there too and see how it goes. We've also just returned our IRVM, or Integrated Roadside Vegetation Management Program, to Polk County as of last year, which is mainly transitioning our unincorporated county roads, the ditches, to prairie. And so we thought this was a great opportunity to try to see what the potential is for using this on some IRVM projects in the future as well. So once again, MNL, they used to be called Minnesota Native Landscapes, but they've shortened their name to MNL. So you can see their website is mnlcorp.com. This is a screenshot from their website. They offer a lot of different services, and native sod happens to be one of them. It's a very innovative technology that isn't available in a lot of places. We currently don't know of any seed company or native plant supplier in Iowa that produces native sod. So that's why when we heard about this one in the Twin Cities, we wanted to go ahead and purchase some from them and have it down here. This is their native sod brochure. And I share this with you because it may or may not be on their website until they're ready to sell the native sod. I've noticed that sometimes they take it off if they don't have sod ready to sell. And so if you don't see this on their website and you want a copy of it, please email me and I'm happy to send over a PDF version of it. But you can see what it looks like down on the bottom. Well, actually, right on the first page, the middle picture, you can see it comes in rolls that are about 4 feet wide and it varies as far as the length. But you can see that there are fully established forbs and grasses popping out of that native sod. And so you can see in the other pictures on the bottom that when it gets installed, those plants are laying kind of flat because they had to be rolled for the native sod. But within a couple of weeks, they claimed that these would pop right back up and the sod would start to grow its way into the ground. The soil medium itself is only about an inch or two thick, as you can see from the rolled prairie sod ready for install photo. And they figured out a cool technology where they grow this sod with a barrier in between where the roots are establishing and the rest of the soil. It's kind of a plastic barrier, and that allows the roots to grow horizontally instead of vertically into the ground. But as soon as you remove that barrier, then the roots start going into the ground. So we thought we just had to see this for ourselves and see how it works. So here is a very crude drawing in paint of our Public Works restoration plan. And you can see the Public Works building, and then to the left of that is our pond. It's a stormwater pond. And we have converted a lot of the vegetation around the pond with native plants. So the green strip is where we have some plugs, and then the pink is where we've done seeding. So that's still going to take a little bit of time to establish. The dark pink is where we have native trees and shrubs. But if you see on the right-hand side, leading to our main building, we have two driveways going into the main parking lot, and there is a section of turf in between those two driveways, indicated by the yellow square here, where we thought would be a perfect spot for putting the native sod. So there are a couple different varieties that the native sod company M&L provides. And so we got two different species or two different seed mixes, basically, or plant mixes. So this is a list of the short and showy mix that we put in those two driveway areas at the Public Works facility. And you can see quite a wide variety of plants. And they call it short and showy because there's a lot of forbs or flowers in this mix, and then grasses, but everything is on the shorter side when it's fully established. And we thought this was a good spot or a good type of mix for the Public Works facility because we don't want to have any flop hazard for the cars that are trying to get in and out of there. And also because it is front and center in our facility, we want to make sure that it doesn't look unkempt. So we went for the short and showy mix there. If anyone is interested in getting these sent to you too, these mixes, I'm happy to send you a PDF of those as well. And then here is the lot of the homeowner inquiry. So you can see it's kind of a funny shape, and it has a berm. So there's a detention basin that kind of runs along the top edge, or like the left edge of the property. Um, there is an outlet structure right here, and then around here is a basin. And you can't, it's kind of hard to see in this picture, but it does fill with water for large rain events. And then there's an outlet structure here that helps the water escape through a berm that is on the other side of the homeowner's backyard that kind of runs along the property line. And then it goes out into a flatter spot, the neighboring property. So it's kind of a funky setup with this lot. And the easement is county owned. And the homeowner reached out to us because she couldn't get anything to grow there, and it was always a wet spot in her yard, and she was looking for some solutions. And because it's county property, we proposed putting in some native sod there to see if that can help soak up the extra water, with the contingency that the homeowner would maintain it. And she was very excited about that. So we went ahead and planned for that. So here you can see the yellow arrows indicate the path of the stormwater. And then that orange half circle is kind of where the berm is. And then the green is indicating where we put the native sod, because that's kind of the natural path that the water was taking through the property. And so for this area, because it gets wet pretty often, we tried the rain garden mix of native prairie sod. So these are plants that grow a little bit taller, but that also can handle larger amounts of water than the short and showy mix. So you can see once again, there's a wide variety, a few more grasses and sedges than the short and showy mix, but still quite a bit to choose from. And just like the short and showy mix, you can see there's a variety of bloom times as well to make it look nice all bloom season. So here's the cost breakdown. So because it was in the Twin Cities, that was a big cost for us. You can see the shipping was $2,300. These the native sod, like I mentioned before, comes in on a pallet with sheets basically that are about 4 feet wide, and the length varied. But depending on if it had rained recently, the sod weighed differently, and so we weren't confident that we could take a public works truck up there and load up these pallets of sod and get them back. So we had to have M&L ship them down to us on a semi truck. And we're glad we did, because it happened to be rainy up there, and so the sod was heavier. and there's no way we could have picked it up ourselves. So the shipping was a necessary cost that we had to do. But as you can see, the cost per unit, which is a square foot for the native sod, is pretty comparable to what you would get for a plug, so a single plant. Usually we see those in anywhere from the $3 to $5 range for a single plug, so a year-old plant that you would, plant into the ground. But what's cool about the short or about both seed mixes is you get more than one plant per square foot, and so you're actually getting more bang for your buck with the native sod than you are with the plugs. However, like I said, the shipping is what was a big cost for us this time, but maybe someday if we have a local supplier, we can take that part out of the equation. We got about, yeah, like almost 4,000 square feet for both areas. So this is the two driveways leading to the Public Works facility and the grassy area. They're removing the sod right there. So getting it ready. The MNL said that we didn't have to do any site prep for installing this native sod except for removing the turf. They said we don't have to do any tilling and we don't have to do any compost amendment before putting it down. They said that once we unroll it, we would just make sure it's watered, and within a week or two, those roots would start to establish. We did leave a little border of turf grass around the edge of this area eventually to help once again with visibility for the cars going in and out. So here's what it looks like when it showed up on the semi. Um, you can see the plastic that was on them is the barrier that was allowing the roots to grow horizontally instead of vertically. So that was removed when we started the installation process. But you can see that it's a fully established prairie. So it was pretty awesome to see that show up in to our facility. We had to make sure that this was installed within a week of delivery so that the plants were still alive. And we did water them every day. I think we ended up installing these like 3 or 4 days after we got it. So we made sure that they were nice and watered the whole time that they were in their rolls. Here's a close-up version. So you can see there's some, I'm assuming those are black-eyed Susans or brown-eyed Susans in there, and some grasses. And so we were really excited to roll this out and see what it looked like. So we did this in-house with our public works staff and our roadside biologist, who is in charge of our IRVM program. And as you can see, we started about a foot or two in the square so that we could plant some turf around that border later. And we had a skid loader go grab a pallet of the rolls, and then as they were unrolled, the staff took off that plastic piece and just made sure that each roll was secured tight against the next one. I believe that they did use some staples to keep that in place, but it wasn't totally necessary because it wasn't moving anywhere. And of course, like any good government project, there's a couple people just standing around and watching too. Here is a close-up of the first roll that was rolled out. And you can see that there's already a whole bunch of stuff there, and it's a very tight network of plants. Once again, you can see how this would be pretty cost effective compared to planting plugs in an area because you're getting several plants per square foot instead of just one plug per square foot. Here it is about halfway done. And then we started watering it. Watering was very important, especially because this was installed in July of 24. And so we were still in a drought back, or sort of drought back then. So we want to make sure that we didn't kill this sod. And here's what it looked like a couple weeks after establishment. And we have that turf grass around the edge too. So as you can see, it did exactly what MNL said it was going to do. It perked right back up, and it looks like it's been there for way longer than just, a couple of weeks. Those plants started to stand up. There was some dead stuff in there too, but that's all stuff that will eventually either get mowed or burned off in the coming seasons. I think that they said that this was a first year growing of these plants because they grow a new round of native sod every year for disbursement, but it's kind of kind of amazing to see that all of that has happened within a year. So I have a time-lapse video of the installation. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick and bring up that video so you guys can see it because it's pretty fun to watch. So they're grading the property. They didn't know the camera was there, so they parked their truck there. Then they marked out where they wanted to do it, and then just roll by roll, they unrolled it. Started watering it right away.
We
And
can't
then we
see
had,
anything, Cassie.
oh, thank you. 1 second.
Now we can.
Oh, you can. Oh, okay, cool.
We
Well,
can now. Yes.
let me start over then. Just kidding. Thank you. All right, you guys see that now?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so there you go. They're marking out where they want to put it. They roll it out roll by roll. And as they go, they're also watering it. And then eventually we did have a sprinkler system out there that just continuously watered it for a few weeks. It took about 2 days. There's Ryan, our roadside biologist, making sure it's good and watered.
Cassie, is it tacked or stapled down or anything, or just laid on top?
I think they tacked down the very edges, but other than that, they didn't put a whole lot of staples down. It stayed pretty well. We were pretty surprised. Like they said, the roots started to establish pretty much right away. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and bring up my presentation again. Thanks for bearing with me and thanks for letting me know you couldn't see anything. All right, you see my presentation again?
Nope.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay. So here is the installation over at the drainage basin. And you can see up in the top left corner is where the water enters from the storm drain, from the cul-de-sac that's up a little higher. And we took the natural path of where the homeowner said the water was going when it came through here. And so we made it kind of a curvy shape. And this is the rain garden mix, so not the short and showy mix, a few different varieties in there. We hired a local contractor to install this one because we didn't have the manpower to do both at the same time, and timing was definitely an issue because we wanted to make sure that these rolls didn't sit out too long without being installed. So these were being installed at the exact same time as the public works facility ones. So this contractor decided that he wanted to go ahead and amend the soil with some compost, and we said sure, because then we have, just another variable in there that we can see if it helps at all. So you can see that they're raking that in and then unrolling the sod here. And then you can see here's a close-up of what that has, and it looks like it also had some black-eyed or Susans or brown-eyed Susans in there along with some grass. Those are the ones that seem to pop up first. This homeowner also really wanted to keep this willow tree. We recommended her not, but she really wanted to keep it, so we let her keep it there. And here it is when it's done. You can see here's that funky berm at the back of her yard and then the other little outlet. So that's like an emergency spillway for if the water here gets too high. And you can see how it curves all the way around up to that spot. And then here it is after a couple weeks. It started to perk up a little bit. So, summary is so far we're seeing some great results. I've taken some more pictures since then, and it looks wonderful. Both sites look wonderful. We've got more blooms coming up than we had last year, and not too many weeds because it was such a dense network of plants when we received it that really there wasn't much weeding involved at all, as opposed to when you plant plugs. You need to make sure that you keep the weeds down in between each individual plug. And so it was definitely less maintenance required. Um, And like I said, it was instant prairie. So we think, as far as public acceptance for these types of projects on county projects, we think that it would be a great fit. In fact, we have some roadside bioretention cells that are currently being built along Broadway Avenue in Polk County. And we are going to install some native sod in those to see how it does. And so now the only piece of this puzzle that's missing is having a local supplier. We did invite a couple of native plant suppliers in the area to watch our installation of the native sod to see if they could um, replicate that in the future. And we did have one group say that they think they could do it, but obviously that would be a pretty big shift for them as far as making the space for that and probably, changing how they manage some of their plants. So I haven't heard anything as far as if and when this will be available locally. So as of right now, we know that the closest one to the Des Moines Metro is M&L out of the Twin Cities, and there's another company out of Wisconsin that does something similar. But so far, that's all we know about native sod. But we are looking forward to using more of it in the coming years because it's a big time saver as far as the installation and the maintenance going forward. And it just looks great from the get-go. All right. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And for those of you that I just let in, I apologize. I was manning the presentation and the admission to the program. So if you didn't see much of this, I'm happy to send it to you later. All right,
Cassie,
looks like we do have a couple of questions.
what's the price difference between this and like the just regular seating?
I don't know what the seating prices are, but I do know that compared to the plugs, this was about the same, and you get more plants per square feet. Um, oh, did M&L provide the staples? No, we did that ourselves. M&L does offer to install this for us, so they can deliver and install it, but we decided since we have the staff on hand that we're going to install it ourselves. Any other questions? Did M&L provide guidance on how long to wait before the first mow or burn? They said give it a year before you do any of that sort of maintenance. But other than that, they said you can treat it like a normal prairie.
Hi, Cassie. This is David Brown with HR Green. Thank you again for sharing all this work. I know it's great to have kind of these instant results with the native sod products. I had two questions. One was curious if there's any sort of advanced lead time when you were working with M&L in terms of scheduling or ordering the products. And then the second is if for the native sod products they have any that meet like the CRP seed mixes.
As far as the lead time, they said the earlier the better to claim however much you want because they can only grow so much at a time. I believe that they were growing like 16,000 square feet at a time. And so last year we claimed dibs on about 4,000 square feet, and I think we're going to claim dibs on 4,000 more square feet next year. Um, you can hold your spot with a 25% deposit right now. So that's what our plan is. The prices have changed a little bit. So instead of $3.50 a square foot, it's up to $4 a square foot, but still a pretty good deal for the amount of plants that you're getting. They had 3 or 4 different types of seed mixes. I don't remember if any of them were technically like CRP or like the same type of mix for those. I would guess that you would have to ask them what they have available this year because they may rotate that as well with as much space as they have, what varieties they have. We just happened to get lucky in that they had exactly what we needed for these 2 projects when we installed them.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep. With 1 year installed, have you noticed good species representation of the 20 plus species on the list, or does it seem that there's only 4 to 6 primary species represented? Thank you for that question. That is one I'm going to have to follow up with our roadside biologist, just because he's the plant expert and I'm not. But Eric, I'll be happy to answer that question for you once I talk to him. But so far, with my my novice eye, I see a pretty good variety of plants, at least from the Forbes side. I know nothing about the grasses. Any other questions? All right. Well, if anyone wants the slides, just let me know and I'm happy to send them to you. I will also put this recording on the Rain Campaign YouTube page. If you can't find that link, just email me and I can send that to you. I'm also always taking ideas for future webinars or future speakers. So please let me know if you have any ideas. I will keep these monthly lunch and learns going as long as I have topics and speakers. So once again, thank you all for tuning in with me today, and we will see you next month.